Greetings and welcome to Season 2 of the Loaded Cart Podcast. Join us as we go on a magical journey through the craziness that is video games and the gaming industry. In this week's episode, we finally dive deep into the fractured butthole. Hold on to your seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome once again to the Loaded Cart Podcast. It's time for some fantastic flatulence. Welcome to Season 2 of Loaded Cart. I am Paul of What's Paul Playing Today, and with me as always is Dan, otherwise known as Chop the Viking. What's up, dude?
How is it going? It has been way too long.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Yeah. So, Season 2.
Yeah.
So, kind of the idea behind this, and we talked about this, I think, the last time we talked, which was just after E3, so a few months ago at this point, which is unfortunate. But so we're going to try some new things, do some new things, change up the format a little bit where we can, refine some things, try to improve the show, because that's what you should do when you're away for a really long time. So we are back, have a semi-regular recording schedule now. It's all based around my wife's work schedule, and when she doesn't work on a weekend, we can record on a weekend. So it kind of might be a little more sporadic than normal. Don't know if we're going to make every 2 weeks for a little bit, but we're going to at least make once a month until we.
It's a good goal.
Yeah, till we get our schedule down and get back into the swing of things. I think it's an admirable goal, but we will be bringing you guys more content again, and it will be fun, I think.
We hope.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. So what have you been up to in the past? I don't know. Since E3.
Well, I mentioned last time that we were talking, so it had to be after I got affiliate on Twitch. And I've just been mostly doing that. I got an offer to do a 12-book series that I don't want to do that. That's like 3 or 4 years, man. I don't think the dude is understanding what he's asking.
Are the books already written?
They're already written. They're 50,000 words each, which doesn't seem like much, but
it's 200 pages.
Yeah, that's about what I was doing before.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
Have you done any of the books already? Like, he?
No, he just out of the blue just emailed me. He's like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good."
What genre were they, or did you even get that far?
Urban fantasy.
Okay. So apparently he likes your urban fantasy voice.
Sure. I guess. I don't know. Other than that, it's just been work and come home, stream, repeat.
I know the feeling, except add babies.
Yep. Well, so that is your work.
Yeah. Except I don't get to come home afterwards. I just, I'm there. That's how I feel a lot of days. I'm just here. I've also been streaming some lately. My current schedule that I'm working with is I'm doing like Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturday nights, just to like give some space in between them, and I don't know, not burn out, because I know that's really easy to do when you go from 0 to every day of the week. You just oh God, I'm so sick of this. And but mostly been doing Minecraft and on the Loaded Cart Gaming Minecraft Patreon server. So if you are listening to this and you have ever at this point been a Patreon donator of the I think the $3 variety or whatever our higher tier is, if at any point you have ever done that and you have any interest in playing Minecraft with us, just contact one of us and we'll get you access to the server, because it's the first game server we've set up. And like, I know because we've been in hiatus, some people, put a hold on their donations, which we put a hold on collecting donations, and we're going to keep the hold
until we actually get a regular schedule back.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna kind of keep that on hold for a little bit. But if you want to play, just let us know and we'll get you access to it. We're doing Bedrock, so it's Windows 10, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. Drew of Hops and Heroes fame is playing on his Nintendo Switch with us, which is kind of funny.
Yep.
You can play on iPhone, Android, like it literally anything except for PlayStation 4, which might actually be getting access to it soon because that is a bit of news to discuss at some point.
Do you want to just dip into the news section?
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I only could think of like 3 stories that would be good to talk about, but we'll talk about the crossplay with PlayStation because people were complaining about it a lot because there's a lot of big games, like especially Fortnite was the big one where if you registered Fortnite to your PlayStation account, you couldn't use it anywhere else. And like it was really pissing people off because Fortnite is like one of the biggest games on the world right now.
Yep.
I think technically the second biggest, which is a little crazy to think about, but it's pretty nuts. Bethesda, mentioned I think that they were disappointed with Sony because with Fallout 76, like online crossplay is like essential to it or something like that. And then now they've come out and said that there's not actually going to be crossplay on Fallout 76, not at launch, and it's not something they're focused on, and they might get to it down the road, but it's not a high on their priority list, which is kind of funny. So it's like, really? But I think maybe they were thinking more Blades because the Blades game that's going to be released on everything, including toasters, is like
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Actually, so funny story. Like since they made Skyrim available for Amazon Alexa, right? Amazon just had a big thing where they announced a whole bunch of new Alexa devices. One of them is a microwave, so you can play Skyrim on your microwave if you buy one.
Nice. I do have one bit of kind of groundbreaking news. Yeah, no, it's incredible news for those of you who are fans of Brian Fargo and Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 3 just got announced.
Nice. That's like 15 years later, right?
yeah. So essentially, someone tweeted out, like Rock Paper Shotgun mentioned him in an article from like 5 years ago, and on 2 days ago, Brian Fargo replied, "I happen to know who's working on Baldur's Gate 3," and winked at the person. So
nice.
I guess not a formal announcement, but at the same time, come on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, apparently with the Sony thing, enough people have been complaining to Sony that Sony originally was just like, there's no money in it for us, so we're not doing crossplay and we don't want to support our competition was basically their corporate stance. So basically the stance was until we can figure out how to make more money off of it, we're not going to do it.
I can understand that stance, but at the same time, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
They're a business. Like they're doing a business thing. I totally get it. Like
I do.
But it's not player centric, which is what people have basically been complaining about. But what made it interesting is a week or two ago, Sony announced that they were going to basically test the waters with crossplay. And the first game they were testing it with is Fortnite.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure out, I think, the whole process of basically like unlocking people's Fortnite accounts. And I think Epic is working on a way to merge accounts for the people that like
had
got one locked and then went and made another one. And like, so that way they can merge all their skins and purchases together, which, makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely. I can tell you it's a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Having worked on that kind of thing before.
Yeah. And like some other games that they're talking about possibly getting crossplay down the road, because that's why I talked about Fallout 76, because people like immediately jumped on that, and I think it was Pete Hines that was like, not higher on our priority list right now.
Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah, not at launch. We're not planning on doing it. Maybe down the road. And it's just like, didn't you like talk about that like being essential at E3? But
wasn't that a thing that you just literally lambasted Sony for? Come on.
Yeah, but. And then one of the big games that everyone's talking about that hasn't been mentioned yet is Minecraft, like getting Bedrock onto PS4. And a lot of people are like, oh, but it's going to take a really long time because they would have to completely recode the game from the ground up for the PlayStation 4. And I'm like, no, you click a couple boxes and you put a
it's
QA
fine.
team on it.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, especially like they're not using Unity. They're using, probably Visual Studio, but because it's Microsoft.
PS4's architecture isn't.
Yeah. But like that's the thing with almost every video game deliverable now. It's literally like, oh, I want to add an Xbox version. Okay, here, let me click the Xbox compile and click this button. And oh, hey, I have an Xbox version I can test now. And then you just do, some bug fixes for that as you find bugs. But
because they will be there.
Yeah.
They will.
So it's not going to take as long to get Bedrock onto the PlayStation as people probably think. So it's really just going to be entirely on whether Sony is willing to work with their arch enemy Microsoft to get what is probably the biggest game on the planet onto their console.
Yeah, that is owned by Microsoft.
Yes,
I can't highlight that enough.
Yeah, it's owned. Mojang is owned by Microsoft, and that was one of the crazy things. So the reason I say it, like, I don't know which is bigger between Fortnite and Minecraft, because do you know Fortnite's player numbers, like the most recently announced ones? Because at Minecon, which was a week or so ago, one of the Microsoft executives talked numbers for Minecraft, and there's 91 million active players of Minecraft, and they've sold like almost 160 million units, which is absolutely nuts. But it's also a little bit of a weird number because units sold can vary from $30 for the PC game to $5 or $6 for the cell phone game. But
as of September, it was 78.3 million players.
Okay, so it's a little bit behind Minecraft.
Yeah,
but it's also everyone's fudging numbers because you just want to make it as big as possible for investors. So, but that's like in the last month, 91 million different people have played Minecraft, which is batshit.
Yeah, that's insane. Just how many people and that's
still play a
10-year-old
game almost.
Yeah. One more bit of news, which is really unfortunate because I know that I played a lot of their games and really had a lot of fun with them, and I know you have had fun with them too. Yeah. Telltale had trimmed down to a skeleton crew of 25 people, and as of yesterday, one of their employees said that group has been laid off too. So
part of that group has been laid off. There's been some clarification since then, because apparently she just talked without. But like, there's a team of 25 people working to finish up like basically one project, and now Telltale is trying to find another company to finish season 3 of The Walking Dead, which is kind of weird. Like, but that's
that's the final season. I mean, I kind of want to close it out,
Yeah. But apparently there were 4 episodes planned, and the second one is just releasing or something like that, and that's what they're going to end it with, unless someone picks it up. But the woman who made the post is part of a smaller team within it that was working on something very specific, and that small team was let go. So there are still people at Telltale, and there are still people working, but that team was let go, and it's caused some big controversy because like none of them got severance. Like they were just,
and they're suing.
Hey, by the way, all 200 of you have a nice life. Like, it was crazy. Like that, no one really knows how many people were there, but the estimate is it was at least 125 people, and upwards of maybe 200 that just suddenly walked in one day and did not have a job, because they were hiring the week before. Like there were open job listings the week before they closed. You can see that they were fighting to try and figure out how to keep the doors open and just couldn't. So, but
I mean, the worst part is that a lot of them were just commercial flops. That's the worst part.
Yeah,
like they were critical darlings, but commercial failures.
Yeah, and part of it that a lot of people are blaming it on is oversaturation. There was just so many games, one after the other, and people were just like they couldn't keep up with them.
Kind of not digging all this stuff. Let's just back up a little bit.
Yeah.
I like her tweet though. Hey, remember how there was going to be a skeleton crew staying on a while, and I was a part of it? Nah, just kidding. Well, just got laid off too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very unfortunate, but
It is. It is.
oh well.
So aside from this, what you been playing?
Been definitely playing South Park, been playing Minecraft. Been playing some Vainglory still because it's still fun when you can just kind of sit on the couch and kick up and play it. Got a couple things that are on my list to play because I still haven't played through BattleTech, even though I kickstarted it and it is fully out now and bug fixed up. So it seems like a really good time to play and it looks like a lot of fun.
I totally forgot that game was a thing.
Yeah. Harebrained schemes.
Nice. Nice.
What have you been playing other than Overwatch and Minecraft?
Well, I mean that one's an obvious. Overwatch, Minecraft are the obvious ones. I've been playing a lot of GTA Online with a bunch of my buddies who I played FIFA with. We also been playing and streaming Mad Max, which is awesome. If you haven't played it and you enjoyed the Shadow of Mordor game or Shadow of War, highly recommend picking it up. It is surprisingly fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's so basically the main story is his car, the black on black, it gets stolen. It gets ripped from him. So he basically has everything taken from him, his car, his gear, everything, and he's just total redemption tale. Got to pick up where he left off and build a new car, the magnum opus as it's called, and it's just a lot of fun. It's very much like Shadow of Mordor, where you're going around picking up scrap. Like in this case, like you're going around picking up all the various accoutrements for your sword and spirit bow. I don't know what the hell you call it.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing, but it's just Mad Max. So the combat, instead of with a weapon, you can pick up weapons, but it's mostly just you're brutally beating the crap out of people with your fists.
Nice.
It is entertaining. There's vehicular combat too, and we can go with that in a later podcast if you end up picking it up.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's gotten rave reviews because I think even Yahtzee liked it, which is kind of scary.
It is the best game nobody played.
Nice.
Because it came out at a time where everything else was coming out, and there's like, this goes under the radar.
And it's a open world movie tie-in game. That's usually a recipe for terrible.
It's actually not a movie tie-in game.
It came out right around the same time as Fury Road, so
it did.
Maybe
but
shortly after.
There's very little reference to Fury Road.
Right. But it's still part of a movie franchise, which,
I guess
usually it's always terrible games.
They knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. I'm having way too much fun with it.
Yeah, you sent us a clip at one point in time of a guy that you accidentally harpooned out of his car and laughed at it, and then further accidentally slingshotted him halfway across the map, and just hold yourself anymore, which is
we'll link that in the show notes. But I ended up driving along this dude, and I'm just trying to break his car down because it's scrap. I mean, that's your entire currency and resources. And I ended up like, I wonder if I can do the harpoon without anything. I can shoot the harpoon into him, rips him out of the car. And of course, I'm just giggling like an idiot because that's just funny. That's comedy right there. And then it's like, retract harpoon. I wonder if this. He goes flying across the screen and across the street. And of course, I'm like, I just start cracking the fuck up. Because what the heck, man?
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining. The little clip.
That game's fun. Would recommend.
Nice. All right. You want to dig into the fractured butthole?
We're 20 minutes in. I guess we should.
Yeah. All right. But, hey, it's not half news this time. Be happy.
Hey, I'm always happy.
All right.
I'm always happy doing the cast.
So the fractured butthole, if you are unfamiliar at this point, which you should be since it came out a freaking year ago.
We've been busy, okay?
Yeah, come on. It took me a whole year to get to play this game. And I'm still technically not done. I have like one quest line left, I think. But we're not gonna talk spoilers. We're just gonna talk system for the most part.
I bought the game at release because I was so hyped for it, and I don't remember a damn thing about it because it's been a year since we've had a chance to play it.
Whereas I do remember because I'm currently playing it. So,
Yes.
all right. So one thing to talk about is like how it's different from the Stick of Truth, because they did some things, in my opinion, to improve the game, and did a little bit of weird stuff like uh, kind of playing up the different setting and different genre. So Stick of Truth was fantasy based and had a lot of really good stuff in it, like, you know, kind of making fun of D&D, making fun of Lord of the Rings, like, and something we'll get to in a minute, a lot of it was recycled from the show. Like there were just like almost, you know, scene for scene stuff ripped from the television show that made it into the game, because, you know, they were playing it safe because it was their first game, and, you know, they wanted to make sure people who are old fans of it could kind of get into it. And this one definitely treaded new ground, and it was, I think, a lot better for it because it was all original, almost all original stuff. There were some little throwbacks and callbacks to the show, but for the most part, it was taking callbacks to the show but doing new stuff with them that isn't in the show. So I don't know.
We
I
should
enjoyed
also
it.
mention that it was built by a different company from the last one. The last one, I
Correct.
believe, was done by BioWare.
No, the last one was done by Obsidian,
Okay. I knew it was
and
one
this
of the two. That
and this one was like
This was
Ubisoft
done
San
straight by
Francisco or
Ubisoft,
something like that. Yeah.
which I was really impressed with because I don't normally Ubisoft does honestly mediocre titles, and I
Yeah.
don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's just that they're very formulaic with what they do,
Mhm.
and it's all just we've got to stick to the formula because that's what makes us money.
Yeah. But I think the difference here is they were probably working hand in hand with Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and Matt
Yes,
Stone and Trey Parker never do anything half-assed.
and they're also very perfectionist, uh,
Yes.
for
And
lack of a better term.
yeah, which is, have you ever seen the weird documentary on South Park?
No, I have not.
It's called like, I think it's called 6 Days to Launch or something like that.
Which is accurate since they do all of the
Yes.
work in the
It
week leading up to the episode.
Yes, it is about, yeah, how they write and record and produce an episode, and like the people who work on that show are insane because
Yeah.
they literally will sit around the studio until like 3 and 4 in the morning waiting for, I think it's Matt Stone that writes every script, like
Mhm.
just or at least up until recently. I think they've changed recently because they're doing so much crazy other stuff. But he would sit and write the script until he was done, and they would literally just sit there and twiddle their thumbs and wait for him to have the script finished before they could start animating. And like sometimes it was like 4 and 5 in the morning, like 2 days later.
And
Like,
honestly, more power to them because they do that just to basically current events. I
yeah,
mean, that they
they
lampoon the
can.
shit.
Yeah, that's always been the interesting things. They have the flexibility to cover current events so well because of their quick production cycle,
Mhm.
which is conversely what makes The Simpsons so weird, because they sometimes nail current events and it takes them 9 months to make an episode.
Yep.
So like they're projecting current events 9 months in the future and are sometimes ridiculously topical. And it's like, what the heck?
And that's why the
But
meme Simpsons did it is
yeah.
just so prevalent.
Well, that and The Simpsons have been going for a
Uh, 30 plus
ridiculous,
years.
yeah. And they've literally done everything, and
Yeah.
hence the South Park joke of The Simpsons did
Yeah.
it. But yeah, but the big thing that makes the difference here, I think, is the new combat system.
Mhm.
So if you remember, the Stick of Truth was literally old school JRPG. You line up on one side of the screen, enemy lines up on the other side of the screen, and it's just menu based combat. It's
Right.
Yeah. So this one, I think if they had kept that combat system, would have been boring. Like it would not have been as good. I think you'd have a really hard time making, especially a longer game, hold up as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that is one of my complaints.
yeah. So in this one, there's a grid based combat. So it's a small grid, and you move around every turn, and it's still round based and turn based, but there's
It's like
a
10 by 20 or something like that, maybe.
sometime it's not even that big. Most of them are 4 or 5 tall at the tallest, and then sometimes 8 to 12 wide. Like they're very small boards, but it's because of the moves. Like the abilities usually only hit 1 or 2 squares to either side, and it's really rare to have an ability that has vertical attack space.
Right.
Like they're almost all side to side horizontal attacks.
Mhm.
But some of them do weird stuff. Like there's some that do X patterns and spread and weird area of effects that it requires a little bit of strategy, and it's I think just enough to make the combat not boring as you cruise through the game over the course of a week.
Yeah, and it is fairly short, but at the same time, it feels like it's a little bit too long.
Yeah, it's 20 to 30 hours, I think. Well, I mean, you could finish it faster than that, but I think that's what I put into it, about 20 hours. But yeah, it does drag a little bit at times, but I think that depends on how much of the weird side questing you do, which at some points you kind of have to do to get equipped enough for the end game stuff. But most of the side quests you're doing as you go anyway, like collecting costumes and pooping in people's toilets and finding weird yaoi art of Tweak and
I forgot about that. I fucking forgot about that.
And finding all the member berries. It's good. There's some really good stuff in the game. It's just little jokes here and there that just are hilarious. How did you feel about the puzzles in the game? Do you remember them very much, or?
Honestly, I honestly don't remember much about the puzzles, if you want the truth, so they must not have been too difficult.
Yeah. None of them are really difficult. Most of them are like, find the space you can use your crazy fart power to get to the weird thing you see like peeking out behind something at the top of the screen. Like
so to bring that back, just so you don't think we're absolutely ridiculous. When I way in the beginning of the podcast, when I said fantastic flatulence, I was not joking. You play a kid with incredible fart powers.
Yeah. So the joke, if you don't know about South Park, one of the characters that everyone is familiar with, Kenny, the guy who dies all the time and gets brought back, that has been explained in South Park canon, he is actually, like, it is a superpower. Like, so he is literally South Park's only superhero, and he has a alter ego that he does, which is Mysterion, where he literally fights crime because he can't die.
Nice.
And so there's a point in the game where you basically discover that you were the second person in South Park to have a superpower, and your superpower is your crazy butt, basically. Like, and the stuff that you can do with farts in this game is very sophomoric because it's South Park, but it is also, some of it is implemented so well that it's funny every time that you do it. Like the fart core. So
just not.
There's a way to climb up buildings using, like, basically, so they're all, half of them are buddy powers and half of them are just you doing weird stuff. And the buddy powers, I think, are really fun. One of them, the one that's fart cores, there's a character named Human Kite who can fly, and he comes and jumps on your back, and that you are like his rocket to propel him up, and he carries you up to things. But there's like a little quick time button press game that you play whenever you do it, and it's just funny. And he's like, whoa, dude, that's amazing, like, every time you do it, which is kind of funny.
And then throws up because apparently your farts are incredibly rancid.
Yes. But in my opinion, the puzzles were, they are pretty easy. Some of them are fun. Like, you actually feel like, oh, hey, cool, I figured out how to get up there. And it has the kind of the weird Metroidvania thing where you've seen these pinwheels all over the place and you have no idea what they mean. And then later on you discover what they mean and you're like, oh, cool, now I need to go back to all these places and figure it out.
Yeah.
And the same with, the ability to clear lava out of the way, which is red Lego bricks, which is fucking amazing.
It is hilarious.
Because no one can step on red Lego bricks.
It's just
Again, it maintains that super awesome, like, janky kids RPG thing where they're just using what they have available and their imagination.
Like you're playing this game as like, just step on the fucking bricks. What are you doing? Just go.
Yeah,
and that's just kids being kids.
It's the rule. Like the rule of the game is you can't.
It's just kids being kids. Like that this is a rule. You can't do it, and then your character dies if you do. Or wait, you
will die if you.
Okay. So I don't think I ever did that because I followed the rule because it's kid big kids.
Yeah, if you hit the first time, you catch on fire, and if you do it again, you will die, and it's like, you're dead. And it's really funny when you die. One of the other kind of weird things along those same lines is there's a kind of running gag through the game that's the Wayne's World joke of like they're fighting in the middle of the street. And then suddenly they'll be like, car, and like everyone will go up to the sidewalk and stand there, and the car will drive by and like cuss you out for playing in the street. And then as soon as it's passed, they all go back to exactly where they were standing and they resume, which is amazing. Like,
it was a great throwback.
Yeah, but it happens randomly throughout the game. Like it probably has happened a dozen times, but every time there's been so much time that's passed since the last one that you kind of still chuckle at it.
Yeah, because
it's that
just,
whole.
Yeah,
every time if you say a joke and no one laughs, keep saying it until someone laughs. Like that kind of the old comedian premise, like
something like that. There's that slight pause that it's just long enough where you're just like, oh yeah, that happened. I remember this now.
Yeah. But my only complaint is that there's one point in time where the puzzles get annoying, or at least the abilities get annoying to do the puzzle, because there's a scene towards the end at this giant laboratory for Mephisto, if you are familiar with South Park. And there's just this long chain of puzzles where you have to use multiple abilities over and over again and switch back and forth between them to get through the puzzle. And you have to play the little puzzle mini game every time you use the ability, which is like, I've already hit that button 50 times. I've already done that little joystick thing. I've already done this. Like, can't you just like do it for me since I've already done it once in this room?
Yeah.
Already on that same box, like, kind of thing. So, but for that one time throughout the entire game, like I can give it a pass. It's just one of those like, it would make sense to skip it in this one instance, but
I can understand that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just, I mean, I can definitely give it a pass, mostly because a lot of times when a puzzle annoys the crap out of me to the point where I remember it months later, like we're doing now, that's when I can't give it a pass. Here, I didn't remember that until you just mentioned it. So I was like, all right, that's fine.
So player classes, I don't think they did this. Did they do this in the last Stick of Truth? I don't remember a class system in Stick of Truth. I think you just had equipment and you were a melee character. I don't remember if you could be a magic user or anything.
I don't remember, honestly.
I don't know, but
you had there were 4 classes for the new kid. There was fighter, mage, thief, and I remember this because you talked about it, because it was fighter, mage, thief, and Jew.
Oh yeah. That's right. No, I remember.
I just remember that it's Jew. Why?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, why not?
But there are definitely a lot more classes in
this. Absolutely. It's like, I think there's a dozen.
Something.
And there's only 4 in the previous one.
Yeah. Let me pull this up. I don't remember all the classes. I don't know what the ones you get initially are, because there's a whole bunch of them.
Looks like 11.
So, do you remember the classes that you took at the beginning?
Oh yeah, the only one I took, as far as I remember, is Speedster.
Okay. Yeah, that's you only get one, but
yeah.
All right, so I took
brutal the different
because
batch, right?
Huh?
You unlock a new one with each batch, right?
Yes, like there are 4, I think, points where you get to pick classes, and So what makes it interesting is when you get access to a class, you get access to all of their abilities, and you can mix and match abilities that kind of make your own class, which is kind of cool. You get 4 abilities at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the different classes are interesting. So I think, what was the original ones? Yeah, so it was Speedster, Brutalist, and Blaster, I think, in the first batch.
Yeah, it is.
I did not use Blaster. I took Brutalist because it just seemed the most fun. Like, I just wanted to punch things in the face because, I don't know, that's always entertaining to me. By the end of the game, I was only using one Brutalist ability, which is one where you like charge across and like headbutt someone in the face and like knock them backwards.
Yeah.
Because it was a good way to, like, you could close 3 blocks of distance and then like use your more powerful everyone's standing right next to me abilities.
I do love the intro to each class because it's you're sitting in the basement with Cartman, and he's telling your origin story of people breaking in, and then your dad banging your mom, and that's it, because that is your story, is that you witness your dad banging your mom.
Yeah, and that's a running gag during the entire show where everyone's like, "Yeah, Cartman, you dumbass! Everyone's dad banged their mom."
Yes.
That's how the world works. And he's like, "No, guys," because he does not have a dad. No one. Well, he technically has a dad. It's like the entire 1987 Denver Broncos or something like that. Like the entire team.
Moving along.
It's one of the jokes from the show. There's a whole episode trying to find out who his dad is, and it ends up being the Denver Broncos.
But yeah, the entire thing is that a couple of 3, I think, criminals break into your house. You end up beating them up, hearing your mom scream because that's why you got out of bed. You walk in, and of course, there's your parents doing. Yeah.
But it's got a cool tutorial, because so the combat there where you fight off the guys that break into your house, like, it is scripted to the point where you get to use each of your abilities once to see what they do, and like, it's actually really, really well done, and it's a really good way to show off how your abilities work.
Yeah, I loved it. Honestly, I thought that was the best tutorial I've had in a while.
Yeah.
I usually don't enjoy tutorials. I usually find them just really, oh god, just let me get through this. Yeah. And that was just like, this is hilarious.
Which kind of also brings in the intro of the game, where they kind of teach you the new combat system in general. And the idea is that it's like there's a big war going on back in the fantasy world, because you start off in the fantasy world where you're the king and all that stuff from the first game. And there's this big war going on, so you're fighting through the war and you kill the dragon, and like all this crazy stuff happens, and then everyone just kind of goes like, Lord of the Rings is boring, we're doing superheroes now.
I'm done with this.
Which is, kids, like, that's what they do, which makes it hilarious. Do you remember what you picked from the second batch, which was Elementalist, Cyborg, and Psychic?
Elementalist.
Cool. I actually took Cyborg because they had the ability to electrocute people. And he had another ability that I kept taking that was a magnetic one where it grabs people from the 4 directions, north, south, east, west, like 2 or 3 squares, and pulls them towards you and then does damage. Again, a gap closer, which is what my Brutalist really needed.
Yeah. I liked mostly I just liked I know there is only one healing ability rather than the Psychic, which I had 2. I just like the healing ability and the basically the ultimate for Elemental Onslaught for Elementalist is kind of sweet.
Nice. Okay, do you happen to remember your next one? So you get Assassin, Gadgeteer, and Plantmancer.
Pretty sure I went with Assassin.
I definitely went with
100% sure.
Yeah, I definitely went with Assassin, and I switched from the Cyborg ability that pulls people towards you to the Assassin ability where you throw knives at people and cause them to bleed.
Yeah.
Very, very useful. Because any status effect you can put on someone like cuts combat time like in half sometimes, which is nice.
Pretty much.
One of the things that I did at the end of the game, by the end of the game, you have access to all of the classes and all of the abilities. There's a Plantmancer ability that's just broken. It's called Root Burst, and it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It does I'm at the end of the game, and mine does 105 damage. And to put that in perspective, my martial artist is the crazy martial artist ability I have.
Mhm.
It does more than double that.
Yeah.
So it knocks everyone back and it causes them to bleed. So it does the same job that the knife thing did, except for the fact that it hits basically you pick a direction left or right, and it hits everyone within 3 squares of you in that direction.
Yep.
So like you just literally hit half the battlefield with it every round if you use that every round.
And also induces bleed.
Yes, and it also induces bleed. So they all start taking damage over time, and it knocks everyone back. So if they get knocked back and hit something, they take extra damage. And like, yeah, it is ridiculously OP, and highly recommend taking it.
Did you purchase any of the DLC?
I have not yet, but I am definitely going to.
I'm thinking about it because it's been a while, and I wouldn't mind playing through the game again just for a laugh. I should have before this, but honestly, I just wasn't sure when you're going to finish.
One of the DLCs like is it looks like a kind of homage to Dusk Before Dawn, which is kind of funny, at Cartman's favorite Mexican restaurant, Casa de Benita.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It looks funny. I love the DLC bus stop. Like, so there's just a bus stop in town, which is where you get on the bus to go to the different DLCs. And there's a dude there who's like, man, I've been waiting for this bus since December. Like making fun of how late it is.
Yeah.
It's again, a nice little touch where the game kind of makes fun of itself.
And they have no problem making fun of themselves. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There's also a weird artifact system in this one. I don't know if there were artifacts. I don't remember if there were artifacts in Stick of Truth. I think there was, but yeah, it's a little weird because basically after you hit level 9, you have all of your artifact slots unopened, and there's like no reason to level that I see. I don't think it adds anything.
No, the only thing it added was the unlocks, and you've got everything unlocked. So
yeah,
shrug.
Yeah. A weird thing that they added, like I also don't remember if this was in the first game. So in the settings for your phone, you can customize your phone by adding cracks and smudges to it. And like, or just have it be clear. And I added smudges to mine, and it looks awesome. It's like they're just like little fingerprints and smudges on the phone. And it's like I constantly am like, I want to wipe off my monitor. Like, like it's that well done that I'm just like, why is it so dirty? Like, let me clean my monitor. Like, oh wait, never mind. It's
no, it's supposed to do that. It's fun.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
So did you have fun fleshing out your character with the different NPC interactions in the game, like over the course of the game?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember a lot of that. I know I had an enjoyable time actually doing that portion of it, because I remember the was it in this one that you had the questionnaire with oh god, what is his name? The guidance counselor?
Mr. Mackey?
Yeah, Mr. Mackey, where he's asking you, oh, so you're your gender in this case. So
yes.
You're a girl, okay. And he makes the call to your parents, informing them that you're yes.
Yes, that is definitely this game. Like, so in the first game, you never get asked about any of that stuff, which is why it makes it extra funny in this game, because they're asking you all of these questions, and then like the game does this really awesome way that they like kind of shoehorn whatever your choices are back into the game and fill in the backstory from the last game. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like they do this really great job. But what makes it even crazier is you can go back to those people and talk to them again and change it, and they will change everything again. So it gets really hilarious. And like they're doing, like, I mean, and the choices are amazing. There are just tons of choices. So there's like, I mean, you can pick like if you're a boy or a girl or other.
Yep.
And then you can like, you get to choose your sexuality and your race.
They're 10-year-olds. What do they know about their sexuality?
Well, Tweak is gay.
Oh dear.
But like by the end of the game, you get this really hilarious character sheet, which has like it lists all of your choices on it. So like my character sheet, I'm a white American pansexual cisgender boy who is a chaotic Buddhist. My power source is my butt, and my kryptonite was old people. Because every superhero has to have a kryptonite.
Mine was actually old people too. Now that I remember, I enjoyed the alignment and religion portion. You talk to Jesus.
Yeah, you talk to Jesus and he lets you pick an alignment, which is, lawful, neutral, and chaotic. And then you get to pick religion. And like, there are like 20 religions to pick from. Like everything from Christian and Jewish to Buddhist to Wiccan. Like I was almost chaotic Wiccan because I thought it would be funny. But yeah, like I think they have Taoist in there. Like everything, almost not really everything you can think of, but like almost all the really funny ones.
Yeah.
It's always funny because whenever you pick one of these things, there's a group of rednecks that rolls up and like harasses you for being that thing.
Yes.
So it's like, God damn it, I hate cisgendered. And then they attack you for being cisgendered.
It's just a bunch of bearded white dudes jumping out of a pickup.
Yeah. And I mean, and they do actually get used in the game, which is kind of funny because there's like a quest later on where one of the characters tells you to go to the park and meet them in the bathroom of your specified gender, like of your bathroom of choice. And there's 3 bathrooms there. There's a boys' bathroom, a girls' bathroom, and a cisgender bathroom, which is like, huh? But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of anyone who labels themselves as cisgender, whether they're boys or girls, goes in the cisgender bathroom, which is
okay, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, you can be transgendered in the game. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. It's really funny. And then kind of to further do that, like there was when you run into PC Principal and he like teaches you about microaggressions and you get this awesome ability to because there's so much trash talking during the combat, which is one of the things that makes it really good. But once you like get the ability to be a social justice warrior by talking to PC Principal, like you get a counter interrupt for whenever someone talks smack to you and uses any kind of like slur, you can interrupt them and punch them in the face.
Yep. It's basically microaggression training. So as soon as they display the microaggression,
and then you like run up and punch him in the face. It's so good. Like there's so much just stuff in this that's just like, oh, it's perfect. It's like perfectly South Park is to make fun of that.
I think so. I found this a lot less funny than I did the Fractured Butthole, and I think that's like we discussed earlier. I think it's because I never watched the show.
Yeah,
it was just not in my usual lineup. I just didn't watch it. So all of a sudden, I'm just being introduced to the humor of South Park and being thoroughly entertained by the Stick of Truth. And then the Fractured Butthole comes around. I was like, oh, this is a thing. Yeah. Okay, I'm done here, I think.
Yeah, what made I think it more interesting from my perspective is I think it's almost more approachable. It didn't hook you apparently, but like instead of being like these, there were inside jokes from the show. Like if you watch the show, you get more enjoyment out of it because you like know who these people are and like know some of the kind of background behind the jokes. But it was new material, and I don't know, it made it a more fulfilling game in my opinion. Like if it had recycled more stuff from the show, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much personally, but it is what it is, right?
I can understand the point of view, mostly because having watched the show since its inception, you're very inured with the comedy and you understand what's going on. You already know all of the characters, whereas this is completely new for me. All the stuff was completely new. I didn't know much about it aside from what I heard from you and everybody else who talked about the show. It never hit with me. It was just not something I watched. So coming in on the Stick of Truth, I was like, this is hilarious. This is just stupid. I love it. And then coming into this and it was like, this is more of the same, but new stuff that I haven't seen before at the same time is just, okay.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like that's kind of where I don't know. Like I think it has it's a kind of a mix of both. It depends on whether you like the South Park comedy. Like it's not a big nostalgia trip like the first game was, because the first game is kind of like, oh yeah, I remember the aliens from, the first season of South Park. Like
right.
And there again in this game, there's no sign of the giant satellite dish coming out of your ass, like which there was in the Stick of Truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of interesting.
Can
Do you want to talk about the crazy fart powers, or do you?
I was just about to ask if you wanted. That's why I'm laughing here, because one of them is, I'm just going to throw it out here. One of them is hacking, and I don't remember which character you pick up.
Butters.
Okay, Butters' hamster somehow ends up as your hacking tool by you literally shotgunning him out of your asshole at an item, and he shorts it out by chewing on the electronics.
Yeah, he gets. So yeah, you open up the electrical panel. Butters loads the hamster into you, and then you bend over and fart the hamster out, and he electrocutes himself, and it shorts out whatever the thing is and opens it. That is your hacking tool, which is again absolutely hilarious almost every time you see it, because of the comments that Butters makes.
Yeah,
because he's like, "Here you go, little guy." Or like, have a safe trip, and like he just says like all this dumb shit, and it's so funny.
And it happens rarely enough that you forget that it's a thing, and then all of a sudden Butters makes this dumbass comment like, "Have a nice trip," and then boom, and you shoot him out. It's just like,
and there's enough variation in the comments that it doesn't feel like they repeat a lot, even though I'm sure they do. But so good. We had talked about fart core. There's eventually an ability where you hook up with this other character called Toolshed, which is Stan, I think. And he has a sandblaster. His dad has a sandblaster, and so he can clear lava out of the way with the sandblaster. But the sandblaster isn't portable, so you can only use it wherever there's a air compressor to hook up to. And you get to this one point where you're just like, here, I'll be the air compressor for you. And he's like, dude, there's no way you could fart enough to be an air compressor, basically, and you do it. So now you are a portable air compressor to clear lava out of the way and other stuff later on in the game with anything that's blocking your path. But then there are the super farts, which are like your actual crazy superpowers, which also are used to help solve some puzzles and in combat, which is kind of funny. So the first one you get allows you to rewind time for a few seconds backwards. And you can use it to like
wait. Is his name really Token Black?
Yes, his name is really Token Black.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He's the Token Black kid.
I get the joke. I just didn't think they were going to be that obvious about it.
Of course they are. And he plays bass.
Okay, moving along. Sorry, I didn't interrupt. I had to clarify that.
Yes, like that was the funny part. Is like added a black kid to the town, and his name was Token Black, and he does all of the stuff that you stereotypically expect a black kid to do. Like it's the height of comedy, man. The height of comedy.
Moving along.
So the best example I can think of is there's
Token Black. Come on.
There's a side quest where you're collecting cats for Big Gay Al because his cats got out and they'll run away. But if you want a chance to try and catch them, you can rewind time and they will go back to where they were and be really shocked because your fart blew them back in time, basically, which is kind of funny.
And you don't move back to where you were. You have control over that.
And there's some other stuff for like there are propane tanks that you can light on fire and blow up, and like if you rewind time, it'll put the propane tank back and then you can move it and blow it up somewhere else to like if you need to blow up more than one thing. So I mean there's some cool like I said, they do some really interesting stuff with the mechanics for puzzles, which is kind of fun. We didn't talk about this. You can also pause time, which allows you to get around weird environmental obstructions like electricity, because there's sixth graders that light puddles up with electricity and you have to get through it and shut them off and some weird stuff like that. There's another ability that's combat only that's called mirror image, or basically has the effect of mirror image. I don't know what it's actually called. It's called
I'm looking right now.
It's called Time Fart Summon.
You got
It's
loud there for a sec.
here's the actual description of Time Fart Summon. By crafting a new burrito with a fart potency immeasurable by modern science, you've developed the power to sear a hole in the fabric of your personal timeline. Release Time Fart Summon to cancel an enemy's turn and bring your past self to the battlefield. For a limited time, this clone from your past fights by your side, armed with your current power loadout. Only available during combat.
Have we mentioned how we acquire these fart powers? I don't think we have.
No. And I don't know if we want to spoil that because it is
Okay.
amazing. Like that is it is one of the cameo appearances because there's a few cameo appearances of celebrities, and I'm using air quotes with celebrities because it's all voiced by Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Mhm.
But there are some celebrities that appear in the game that have been in past episodes of the show that are great. And the guy who runs the taco stand who teaches you all of your crazy fart powers is amazing. And
Yes.
he's like your Yoda or your Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it makes it absolutely amazing.
All right.
And then the last one is there's a power you get towards the very end of the game that allows you to shift the time between day and night. And I can't read that description because it has a spoiler in it.
Yes. And we'll just ignore that. So who is your favorite buddy to have in combat?
I don't know. So there's kind of different things. I think I have a favorite buddy combat wise, and then there's like the favorite actual like kid hero power thing because they're two kind of different things. But Butters is probably my favorite, like overall, if I had to just pick one, because all of his evil sayings once you get him in your party are like absolutely hilarious, and he's like telling people that they're about to die and like all this stuff, and it just sounds really, really funny in his like evil voice, or like, you know, him trying to be Professor Chaos.
He's just an adorable kid.
Oh, it's so funny. I'd probably pick him.
Yeah.
Token is also really funny. Tupperware.
Really?
Yes, really.
No, I can't get over that.
So, a funny little thing I noticed with Token, with Tupperware. So he's like kind of an Iron Man kind of guy, but all of his stuff is made out of like, you know, Tupperware. But he has a helmet on that's Tupperware, and one of the status ailments is being grossed out, and you throw up every round. When he throws up, it fills up the Tupperware container instead of going on the ground.
It does, yeah. That is funny.
Which is like a nice little touch. But combat wise, I don't know. Like the most useful is probably the human kite, because he can heal people so easily. Like he has so many good healing abilities that it's just you can't die when he's in your party almost.
He's essentially your cleric.
Yeah. What about you? Do you remember anyone that you particularly liked?
I mean, as a character on the whole, I'd have to agree that probably Professor Chaos, was it?
Yeah.
Dr. Chaos? I can't remember which
Professor.
one. Professor Chaos. I like Butters. I've always liked Butters. I liked him from the previous game, and I liked him in this one. And probably Mysterion is my favorite overall character. Yeah. Just because after listening to that backstory, that he's literally, I knew that he couldn't die in the show. Like, you killed Kenny, you bastards. That's the joke. But knowing that there's an actual story reason for that is kind of cool.
It is like a literal superpower, which is kind of funny.
Just makes sure he just doesn't give a shit about anything. He just, I'm gonna die anyway. Fuck it. Yeah. I'll come back. It's cool.
Do you remember any of the powers that you particularly liked? Any of the kids' powers that were particularly good or funny?
Or Butthole's powers?
Either or both.
That's fair. I particularly enjoyed being able to obviously do all of the classes, and I like the introduction to the classes that you have with Cartman sitting in the basement. Yeah. That's not a super huge spoiler. You get those right in the beginning. So
yeah.
Barring that, probably. Oh gosh. I liked Fast Pass, because even though I also had speedster powers, it was nice having two of them to be able to just deal out a ton of damage from a distance.
Nice. Yeah. Did you ever get Tweak and Super Craig's Ultimate, like the big one that has the crazy Japanese animation, like the big anime thing.
Yes, I did.
That was so damn funny.
It was the Eros eruption.
Yeah, something like that. It's great. That's probably my favorite. Is single ability.
I think my favorite is the fact that it induces the confused status effect because what the just happened?
Yeah, and then they start attacking each other and doing random stuff. It's actually fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're about ready to wrap up. How about you?
I think so.
All right. I don't know. How do we want to end our first episode of season 2? I mean, we've got a couple of come watch us on Twitch.
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, just in general, what did you think of the game? You said it was an overall.
I love the game. I think it is a great sequel to the first one. I think it builds on what the first one had and expands it in a really good way. And I haven't finished the game, so I don't know if they set up a third game, but I really hope that they do because I would love to see the sci-fi version of this.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Because I think that's where you go next. You go to like Star Wars, Star Trek.
Yeah. It could work.
And then I don't know what you do after that. Maybe.
Has there been one announced? Do you know of?
Post-apocalypse? No, not that I'm aware of. It doesn't mean there's not going to be one, but like if I were going to pick a setting for the next game, I would do Star Wars, Star Trek, because that's where you like the first game had a divide between the two kingdoms, and then this game has the divide between the two DC Marvel franchise kind of a thing. And so the next divide would be the kids who like Star Trek and the kids who like Star Wars, because that's the natural nerd divide. But yeah, that's kind of what I think. I think I would definitely, if you have not picked up the game and played it, it's totally worth it. I think it's a great little RPG. I would still pay full price for it right now, but I know you can get it for a lot less. So $30-$40, this game's a steal, I think.
I would agree.
And you could probably get it way less than that. I'm pretty sure you could probably get it for under $20 right now, especially on a Steam sale.
That's too much. Let's see here. The store page has it listed at, as soon as it loads up, it's currently $30. And honestly, that I think I paid like full price of 40 or so, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah,
like I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the Stick of Truth, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry that I purchased it.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're not sorry you purchased it.
And I think I might play it again.
I definitely want to. I want to finish it, and I want to grab the DLC at some point and finish that too.
Yeah.
Because it totally seems worth it in my book, and I definitely want to support them making another game. So,
sure. I mean, I'm on board for another game for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know when the next episode will be. This one will come out.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not sure what we're doing, to be frank.
Yes, probably a console retrospective, I think, is what I imagining. But this one will be out should be October 15th is when I'm planning to have it go out. And then we will record sometime shortly after that. The holiday season is going to be a little weird coming up, but like I said, we'll try to do at least one a month, maybe one every 3 weeks. Whenever we can squeeze one in, we'll try and do one for now. And then as we get more accustomed to new schedules and stuff, we'll be able to work some more stuff out.
Yeah, let's see here. Dig. All right. There it is. Look at the thing. Look at that.
Yeah, I need to. Again, this is one of the things that we need to refresh so we can,
So
season two.
Yes, season 2 is still a work in progress. So with our work in progress outro, if you want to get in touch with us and are desperately trying to figure out what the hell Paul is doing, trying to dig for an episode that we did like 6 months ago, shoot us an email at podcast@loadedcartgaming.com. That goes to both of us. It's fine. If you want to follow me on Twitter and see when I'm going live on Twitch, that's usually pretty much all I use Twitter for. Shut up. It's at Paul Cluel, PaulClewell. If you want to check out Daniel's stuff, it's at Chop the Viking, and he also runs the @LoadedCart Twitter account. If you want to check out my stuff on Twitch, it is twitch.tv/what's Paul playing today. And if you want to watch Daniel's stuff, he pops in on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. It is twitch.tv/Chop the Viking. If you want to find us on social media, all the rest of the links are in the show notes, and as is loadedcartgaming.com. And if you love us, please consider leaving a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you're listening to us. It really does help us find everybody around here helps people find the podcast. We don't pay currently to advertise, so it's probably the best way you can help us out if you want to. If you want to check us out over on Patreon as well, it's patreon.com/loadedcartgaming. Do we still have the merch store up?
Working on revising the merch store.
So merch store is work in progress, so keep an eye out. We do have Loaded Cart Gaming shirts. We'll be with Professor Bananas kind of chilling out next to our logo. We'll be putting those back up fairly soon. Anything else you want to add before we sign out?
Nope. That should be it. Again, with the Patreon thing, we're not going to turn on, like, flip that switch for charging for at least until we figure out how we're going to do this better and as we get more consistent. So probably beginning of the year is when we'll turn it back on if once we get like 3 or 4 episodes under our belts, because I feel like that will at least start making things up a little bit for the people who were funding our Patreon for a couple of months while we weren't able to do anything because things got crazy.
Which we do sincerely appreciate.
Yeah, and we also sincerely apologize for not being able to have everything go super crazy.
I think both of us felt really poorly when we couldn't do episodes and people were still paying us to not do anything. Like I couldn't do that, and I know you couldn't either.
Yep.
Anyway, this is South Park: The Fractured Butthole and the first episode of season 2.
And we'll announce on Twitter when we figure out what the next episode is going to be.
Absolutely.
All right.
But that's about it for now. And here's some smooth jazz to play you out.
So I heard the squeaky too. Paul is investigating the squeaky noise. And he's blaming the cat.
Sorry, cat turned on the old uninterruptible power supply.
Nice.
So I heard maybe a quarter of what you were saying.
All right. I was just saying that I think the game was a little more fulfilling because it was doing new stuff with old content instead of recycling old content.
Fair enough.
All right.